19 of our Daily Trust newspaper. And we also have another story on page 19. And we also have another story on page 17 of our newspaper, which reads, troops kill bandits, rescue victims in Sokoto. That's on page 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And we also have 17 agencies scored 0 in efficiency rating report, and that's on page 6 of our Daily Trust newspaper. On the big story this morning, we have 7 women protesters killed in Adamawa. That's a big and interesting story. There's 7 women protesters killed in Adamawa. That's another story you would want to read on that. So moving forward to the next story we have here, we have the EFCC seals Sevilla's residents. You want to read that story on page 46. It's an interesting one. We have court declines Nnamdi Kalu's request for prison transfer, and that's on page 46 of our Daily Trust newspaper. Is an interesting story. You want to go through it and know the reason why the court actually declined his request for prison transfer. And still on Daily Trust newspaper, we have our ordeal in the bush, rescued Niger student, ordeal in the bush. And that story, you will see it on page 10 of our Daily Trust newspaper. Is an interesting one. You want to know how they went through what happened and how they were able to rescue students in Niger State in the bush. That's an interesting story you want to see there. Let's move forward to the Nation's newspaper this morning. Let's see what the Nation's newspaper have for us this morning. And one of the stories we're seeing here is student to assess federal government's 50 million naira innovation grants. That's a big one. I know a lot of students will be happy for this particular news, and that you see on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. You want to read it and know more about the grant. Okay, so let's move forward. We have more Nigerian fighters jet troops in Benin Republic, and that's on page 6 of the Nation's newspaper. You want to go forward and read more stories on that. And we also have Nigeria US moving in right direction, says Rep. Rally Moore. Wow, that's an amazing one, and that you see on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. Is an amazing story you want to read right there. And then our big story on the Nation's newspaper this morning, we have Tinubu break back all adoptees. Tinubu bring back all adoptees. Tinubu bring back all the adoptees. That's a very nice and sweet story that all the people adopted has been returned to their families. That's a big one on that. And being that we are preparing for a big celebration coming ahead of us, I believe the families of the adoptees will be very happy for this news and will be reunited with their families. That's an interesting one. Now you want to read that on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. And because of that, we're supposed to take a congratulatory message to new Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa RTD, but we're going to skip that because of our time. And this you will see it on the page 2 of the Nation's newspaper. Just in case you want to go through it, you have all the time to go through it. So let's get into the next newspaper we have this morning, and that's on the Tribune newspaper we have this morning. One of the stories we have on the Tribune newspaper, we have the $2.4 billion US Euro banned oil receipts remittance drives Nigerians $7.5 billion US reserves search, and that's on page 5 of the Tribune newspaper. And another story we have court bans AFCON appointed lawyers from representing GHL over disobedience of court orders, and that you see on page 3 of the Tribune newspaper. We also have other relating story that might interest you. On our big story this morning, we have miners tackles northern government rejects call for ban on mining. Wow, that is another story making the headlines that you want to read in one of our newspapers this morning, and that's on page 4 of the Tribune newspaper this morning. Another story we have there on page 28, we have reps quiz NERC over 109 moribund license, accused discourse of unethical parties, and that is on page 28 of our newspaper. We have another story on page 15 which says Tinubu in separate meetings with Fubara, 7 APC governors, and that's on page 15 of the newspaper. And we also have the ICPC Works Ministry begin nationwide audit of 760 road projects, and that's on page 7 of the Tribune newspaper. We also have other related story. On page 26, we have gunmen murders pastor's wife, raise house, vehicles in Anambra church. That's another one. That's another sad story, and you want to go through it. Killed 4 in another community, and that's on page 26. It's actually a sad story, and we don't wish this for any of our close relatives or family members and friends. That's a sad one. And we also have another story on the Tribune newspaper. We have NSA hands over 100 rescue PPOs to Niger government. We have NSA hands over 100 rescue PPOs to Niger government. That is an interesting one there. Like I said, these people will actually be very happy to reunite with their family members. That you read on page 3 of the Tribune newspaper, and we have another big story there on page 3. Also, we have the U.S. Congressman Moore says security talks with Nigerian productive. U.S. Congressman Moore says security talks with Nigeria is productive, and that's a very big one there on the Tribune newspaper. And before we take you through the next newspaper we have for this morning, we want to go on a very quick break, and when we return, we're sure to give you the rest of the newspaper reviews we have in stock for you.
Number 1, synthetic biology advances. Synthetic biology is pushing science into new territory. Using AI-guided gene editing, researchers are engineering organisms to produce biofuels, biodegradable plastics, and even synthetic meat. In 2023, Ginkgo Bioworks announced partnerships to design microbes that can manufacture sustainable chemicals at scale. Moderna and BioNTech are expanding mRNA technology beyond COVID vaccines to treat cancer and rare genetic diseases. The global synthetic biology market is expected to surpass $30 billion by 2030. By 2026, the line between biology and technology will blur even further, making synthetic biology one of the most transformative fields of the decade. So there you have it, 15 more technologies that, alongside the first 17 we covered, are set to define 2026. Together, they show how quickly innovation is moving beyond our screens and into every corner of our life, from the materials we use to the way we connect and even how we think. And if you missed part 1, make sure to check it out next. If you made it this far, let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us through this newspaper review. Quickly, we're going to be taking you through the next newspaper we have for this morning because of our time. So we have the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard newspaper, one of the big stories we have there is Tinubu sees Benin Republic airspace legally, and that's from the Senate source. And we also have other related story. That story I just read now, you find it on the page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. We have on the page 9, we have FG to courts, speed up hearing of terrorism kidnap case. And that's on page 9. They want to hear the case about terrorism and kidnap. So page 7, we have 100 students released by terrorists handed over to Niger government. That's an interesting and that's a very nice story we have there. Yes, now we can say proudly, for me, I can say proudly that government is now working for the people and with the people, just as government has been defined. So let's go quickly to our last story. But before we take our last newspaper review, we have here the note of appreciation on the successful funeral ceremony of late Captain Williams John. And that's an interesting story, just in case you want to go through it. And that's on the front page of the newspaper. We're not going to dive into that story right now because of our time. But if you want to read through that story, it's an interesting one, you want to read all through the congratulatory messages. And let's take you to our last newspaper for this morning. And that is on the Guardian newspaper for this morning. One of the big story we have there, we have how Nigerians' intervention secured key trade route, regional supply chain, and that big story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have another story. We have Ariwa hinges Tinubu's 2027 fit on economic security scorecard, and that you will find on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And we also have PDP faces growing 2027 uncertainty as factional disputes escalate, and that you find on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Also, we have Reps issued NNPCL bus December 15 appearance deadline, and that you will see on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper for this morning. As you can read through the newspaper, you can see that we have inciting and we have insightful and very nice story for you this morning, with a lot of returning of adopted children here and there. You can see that the government is working with us and is working for us. I believe so. That's my opinion. So I want you to send all your comments, your thoughts that you have on Idea Television. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Idea TV. We want to read your comments. We want to read your thoughts. What do you think? What are your opinions? What do you think? Are you supporting? Are you agreeing to what is happening now, or are you against it? We want to hear from you. Like I said, you can follow us on all social media platform. My name is Mary Ojimajo. Thanks for watching.